Okay, so good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk today about a question that I get asked frequently, and and the underlying message that it actually gives. Um, I was asked this question yesterday, but it reminded me that I'm actually asked this question on a fairly consistent basis. And initially, it sounds like an innocent, simple, straightforward question, but it suggests that there is a lot going wrong in the person's business when they ask it. This was the question. The question is, when you're prospecting, what video do you show? Have you ever thought that perhaps when you're working with other leaders or with other people in your team, what video do you show if you're trying to get the message across? Or what presentation do you share? There's a number of different variations of presentations, right, that are out there. Which one do you use? Now, my concern when I thought about it, when we had this discussion, we had a great discussion afterwards to raise the issue, was this. We're talking about a single touch point in a multifaceted touch point environment. If we're taking anyone from where they are to where we want them to be, it doesn't occur with one video or with one presentation. And if we think that that's the case, sorry, 1 second. Bear with me, I'm just going to mute my line here. I do have a... Okay. What the challenge with that is, we have more than one touch point. I've used the statistic countless times before. The National American Association of Sales says that it's 7 to 12 contacts that we have with someone before they get to yes. Now, the challenge is, what happens if we only have one contact planned? If we have 1 or 2 videos that we share, or simply one presentation that we offer? What we're saying there is we don't have a process. I want to show you something and do a quick share screen to give context. Okay, so can you see that? What we've got here, and I'll describe what's on the screen here so that everyone that's listening, if you don't have access to the screen, can see what I'm talking about or hear what I'm talking about. It's sales funnel stages. A sales funnel is a process that you take someone through from a starting point where they are currently unaware of the need that they might have. For example, I might be oblivious to the fact that as I'm drinking bottled water from plastic bottles on a daily basis, thinking that I'm being healthy, the fact is I'm throwing tons of plastic into the environment and causing an environmental hazard. Yeah? I might think that all of this 5G technology that's coming my way is great and exciting news, unaware, perhaps, of some of the detrimental effects to my body and to my environment, my physical environment, as a consequence. So there is a need to begin this process with awareness. When I have awareness, then my interest grows. Then we take them through this process. But each of these processes, it goes from awareness to interest, to consideration, to intent, to evaluation, and to purchase. As we take them through this process, and each one of these stages exists for a reason, of course, because we lead them strategically, deliberately, with good intent, not in a manipulative way, because we're offering something that is a value add. Like I said, if someone is unaware of a problem, we're helping them out and identifying what the problem is, yeah, and then helping them see some solutions and how we can meet that need. So when we're meeting new people and we have new prospects, new people on our contact list, before we jump in, there is a space, isn't there, between adding someone to our list and doing that final presentation where we expect them to sign up and say yes, and they join. And that process is called the sales funnel. Now, I want to read you something here. This is something that I find Really, really important. It says here, the deeper your funnel is, and the more things you can offer your clients, the more each customer will be worth to you. And the more they are worth to you, the more you can spend to acquire them. Remember this truth. Dan Kennedy said, ultimately, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Okay, so let's give context to that statement. How can we add value to a customer's worth to us as a business? And it's not just a customer, of course, it's also an active, engaged distributor. Because what we find, I'll click off the sharing screen here for a second. What we find, reread it. Okay, Barb Bertucci said, reread it. Okay, so the stages of the funnel are awareness. That's the big part of the funnel at the top. Interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and then purchase. And we need to have different activities in what we are doing as business owners for each stage of that funnel. And my point here is we can make that funnel deeper by adding different elements to it where we can engage with and participate with our customers. For example, there are lots of different things we might want our customer to do. I'm gonna pull up this funnel again because I think the visual is good. For those of you that are listening or visually impaired, I just want you to recognize what I've got on the screen here is really just an inverted cone. Yeah, it's wide at the top and it's narrow at the bottom. Okay, so let me just pull this back up here and show. So, like I said, if if you can't see the screen, it's an inverted cone with different segments or sections that break it up and divide it. Okay, so at the bottom of the cone, at the bottom of the sales funnel, and this applies online or offline, it's any interaction that we have in trying to acquire and develop new customers and new business partners. Whenever we have someone like this, at the bottom of the cone is what is identified as our ideal customer or our ideal business partner. So we start that process by beginning with what do they look like? What do we want them to be doing? A customer isn't someone that simply just signs up and places one order. If that's my agenda as a business owner, to simply have one customer a customer make one single purchase, then they're only going to be worth to me the retail value of one single order. And if that's a pair of insoles, we're talking about a few bucks. Now, if they're only worth a few dollars in business terms, I'm not talking about, of course, as a human being, in business terms, if they're only worth a few dollars to my business, how much can I spend on acquiring them? Not a lot. If I'm spending a lot of my time and energy and I'm going all over the place, driving everywhere for the sake of a few dollars, then it gets very frustrating, doesn't it? And I don't get value. So here's the thing. Oh, Barb said, okay, Barb Richmond said, can you please repeat the quote? Yes, let me reread it. The deeper the funnel is, and the more things you can offer to your clients, the more each customer will be worth to you. And the more they are worth to you, this is the critical point, the more they are worth, the more you can spend to acquire them. Because we don't want to spend more money than we make in our business, yeah? And he said, remember this truth. Dan Kennedy said, ultimately, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Meaning, what is the average lifetime value of a customer for you? Is it a one-time purchasing customer, which means you got a few dollars because I don't have strong follow-up, I don't have a funnel that really does anything other than I cut out a lot of those segments in the process. I get a hard sell because I'm anxious about the now versus the long-term journey. I'm anxious about the now. I've got to get that hit or that sale and that purchase done now before I lose them. So I'm driving my business with a degree of anxiety versus urgency. In my opinion, anxiety is the counterfeit emotion to urgency. Yeah, urgency creates creativity, opportunity, enthusiasm, energy. Anxiety squeezes all of that out, creates stress, a different message, bad choices, and compromised outcomes. We don't want that. We want urgency. But we don't want to be pressing for the now if we're going to compromise the long-term benefits of that outcome. So if I've got customers, if my average retention of customers is that they buy from me every few months for years and years and years, yeah? Or my goal, if I look at the end of the funnel, is that I want every ideal customer in my business. And we know there is a difference between expectation and anticipation. We should expect them all to become auto ship customers and work our business to that end, but not anticipate it. Yeah. My friend once said, in describing the difference between expectation and anticipation, he said, it's like bedtime with my kids. I expect them to go to bed on time. That's the standard. But I don't anticipate that they will. They come down, after I've sent them to bed, they'll come back downstairs wanting one more last kiss goodnight. All of a sudden they're thirsty again. They want an apple to eat before they're still hungry. Did I really have my dinner? I can't remember. Can you come and tell me one more story? And they go up and down, up and down, up and down. He said, I expect them to go to bed and stay there. I don't anticipate they will every night. When I understand the difference, my response changes. If I expected and anticipated they would stay in bed, I might fly off the handle when they come downstairs. What's going on? My expectations are not being met. I'm surprised and shocked and disappointed. But if I'm anticipating this, I can respond in a more calm and collected manner. And it's the same with our business. We should expect certain behaviors by building towards it through that funneling process. What specifically does my ideal customer look like? We craft that and we expect it. But we anticipate that not every customer will respond in the ideal way. But if we build that into the funnel, then what happens is something quite exciting. For example, if my expectation, my standard, my goal is for an ideal new customer, and we'll start with the customer, then move on to business partners, for example, consultants, is someone that joins, purchases a pack, goes onto AutoShip, and has a monthly spend, and they're with my business for at least 3 years. That would be fantastic if that was the standard. And of course, we know we've got customers that might go on for longer than that. You can define your own parameters based on your own business performance, yeah? But let's say we had repeat monthly volume coming in from each customer that was signed up to AutoShip coming through. What would the lifetime value of that customer look like? What would be the value there and the income that would be generated over 3 to 5 years of consistent monthly purchases? If that's the outcome that I'm striving for, then I reverse engineer my sales and marketing process so that my awareness starts up there and narrows into that behavior. What it means is when I anticipate that not everyone will get through the funnel, what it does mean is throughout the process, I might capture email addresses, have some strong follow-ups, have some one-time purchases, maybe have some people come to a meeting, have some demos, refer some friends, have some further product purchases, and we might have all of these different places where they might fall out of the funnel, but still be profitable for your business. If we build that in, then all of a sudden, the lifetime value of a customer deepens because we're adding more value and opportunity for them to participate and engage throughout that interactive process. Does that make sense? So what I would suggest that we do is that we write down specifically, and I'm going to read these different phases again. You might want to take a screenshot or make some notes as I do, as I read it out again. I'm going to read out these different stages again so that you can make some notes after the call on what things I can do, because this isn't something I can prescribe for everybody everywhere. It's not a cookie cutter model here, because my awareness that I'm raising as I go through awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase, that will change the message depending on what my objective is and what my ideal customer will look like, or my ideal business partner will look like for me. For example, if I'm focusing on water products, what my message is going to be there, and as I take them through that funnel, will look quite differently to if I'm talking about sleep, or if I'm talking about weight management, or if I'm talking about energy and balance, or joint pain, or whatever it might be. So whatever my product story is, whatever product I'm focusing on, that message will change. It's quite difficult today to have a message that is a very broad brush story about all of our product range in order to capture an ideal customer. We want to integrate the depth and breadth of our portfolio in our storytelling, of course. But in order to get them to a focused end point, we need to get more and more specific as we go on. As they say, an expert is someone that knows more and more about less and less. Isn't that true? And as we take someone to a very pointed end in this marketing or sales process, it gets more and more specific. The same applies with business consultants. When we want someone to join and be a business partner, again, I had a different call yesterday with a member of my team who was asking about this process, and I'd had a conversation with a number of people recently, helping them to identify what are your wildly important goals. And this one particular lady identified that one of her wildly important goals was to have regular presentations on a weekly basis, business presentations on a weekly basis. And I said, that's not the goal. That's an activity that leads to the outcome of your goal, the achievement of your goal. But that's not the goal itself. That's a stepping stone. So what is the goal? Well, the goal, I guess, is to get more recruits. Okay, well, let's get more specific. It's not simply to get more recruits. Do you want more recruits that sign up and do nothing? No. So what do these recruits look like? Well, ideally, they should go executive right away, and I should get at least 3 new executives as soon as possible. There we go. Now we're starting to get more specific. Yeah. So it really helps us to be specific in the process in order to make that funnel work. When we know what they look like at the end, when we have a clear expectation of our ideal consultant and our ideal customer, then we can reverse engineer it so that the awareness begins at the right place. What do I mean by that? Awareness in the right place. Well, if I know what they look like as an ideal customer or consultant, then I know where to go looking. I know what their level of awareness might be presently. If they're not in that state already. If they're entering the funnel, they might have certain virtues, qualities, or attributes that presently exist, but they might lack awareness in certain areas. That helps to define my message. As I reverse engineer, I get to a point where I know where they hang out. I know who they associate with. I know what their friends are like. I know what their interests are, what their current needs are, what the gap is in their life, how I can close that gap, so that when I'm bringing awareness up to them about problems, I'm identifying solutions that are relevant to them versus just solutions that have no bearing or meaning to them. We want to make sure that we're providing a solution or a service that meets their needs. So I can't meet their need or provide a solution to their problem if I don't know what they are. And I don't know what they are if I don't know who they are. So again, it brings it back to being specific at the front end, at the narrow end of the funnel, so that we can reverse engineer it. So I want to go back to that question. What video do you show, or what message do you share? What presentation do you give when you're prospecting or trying to get new customers? The answer is, well, at what phase of the funnel are we talking about? What part of the funnel are they in when you're wanting them to go from one step to the next? We want to make sure that we take them through that process sequentially, comfortably, and in a way that makes a difference. I've got another question here. Barb Richmond said, is that quote from the book on funnels that I mentioned the other day? The title of the book, yeah, it's from this book here called .com Secrets. By the author is Russell Brunson. He's written a number of books. It's something that I highly recommend. Whether you use his ClickFunnels or not, I've used that term before. Whether you're using his funnels or not, I think is irrelevant. The benefit of this book is it takes you through a sales process and a marketing process that I find is really, really helpful. But within this, he talks about something else, which is pre-framing. Each contact that we have when we're making contact with someone is a pre-framing contact, which means the objective of that contact is to take them from that current stage of the funnel and move them to the next phase. Yeah, we don't leapfrog ahead to the end of the funnel. We recognize that we lead them by the hand and gently take them through a process so that they go from cold to warm to hot to loyal to advocate. Yeah, we want to walk them through that process. They don't jump there in a moment. Every now and then they might, but that will be them versus us that did that. Yeah, so we want to walk them through. He says this about pre-framing. Pre-framing, he says, is a neuro-linguistic programming technique simply designed to help people get from one state of mind to the next state of mind in that sales process. Now, we don't just do that in a sales process, again, for context. We do that all the time. How many times have you said in the past to a spouse or a loved one, and I use this maybe as a cheesy kind of extreme example, oh, don't you look lovely tonight? Can I just say how grateful I am for all the wonderful things you've been doing recently? I'm so glad that you're my spouse, that you're my wife. By the way, I was just wanting to go out tonight with my mates and do X, Y, and Z. Would you object watching the kids while I do that? I do that like I said, as a tongue-in-cheek example. But we see those types of things that we do in relationships. My kids do that with me all the time. Yeah, that they will do something if they want to get in good favor. Just the other day, one of my boys had done something naughty. In fact, Abby used to do this a lot. If one of the boys was getting in trouble, she'd turn around and say, "I'm a good girl, aren't I, Daddy?" Right? Or she'd come into the kitchen. One of the boys had just been told off. Can I help you with this, Daddy? Do you want me to do the kitchen? And immediately, let me just show you what a good girl I am, right? And she was trying to pre-frame me to make sure that I was in the right frame of mind towards her, right? She wasn't in trouble. Or perhaps she was just wanting to show the difference of what a good girl she was compared to her naughty brothers. But we each do that consciously or subconsciously. And I say typically subconsciously because you can see by my example of the kids doing it that it's instinct for us. We know if we want someone to get to a yes, we need them in the right frame of mind first. Yeah. And this sales funnel is simply a process of taking someone, recognizing that when we talk to them, when we make their acquaintance, when they get onto our contact list, that when they are in that first initial state, they're not in the right frame of mind. And that's not a bad thing. It's simply saying they're unaware or we don't have the relationship yet. All we need to do is build the relationship, build awareness, and walk comfortably through that process by providing a need, offering a service, solving a problem, and helping them have a better experience with life and have a good interaction where we can build confidence and trust and a strong relationship. It's a process. But if we are patient with that process and build it over time, and like I said, build depth and value in it so that there are multiple points throughout that process where the ideal customer can still participate and engage. Yeah, maybe they sign up to a newsletter. Maybe they give you further contact details, or maybe they give you a referral. Maybe they try one or two different products. Maybe they join and they place orders every now and then before getting onto AutoShip. Yeah, maybe there are different opportunities for them to participate before they become your ideal customer. Yeah, but if we give depth to that, then all of a sudden it's got more value, and more value means we can put more investment into that process to acquire more customers. We can't invest too much if we're one-hit wonders with our customers, where it's a smash and grab approach. We get the sale now, we leave them alone, we do terrible follow-up, and every now and then we reach out to see if they want to place another order 6 months down the road. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. We won't get valuable business. That's not what 500 points a month was all about. 500 points a month was all about auto ship customers. You know, if we got that kind of volume going in, then we could focus on the recruiting side and get more people in that are doing 500 points of auto ship sales, which would quadruple your business volume so much faster. That's what it was all about. But if we don't have that funnel working, then the 500 points will be a different experience for us. We might hit it, but it might be it might be constantly gathering new customers before we're finding our loyal, genuine ones that we're after, the ideal ones. So I hope this helps. What product do I use? What story do I tell? What video do I use? It all depends where they are in the funnel. And each funnel will be different according to the needs or the message of that particular funnel. Is it for water? Is it for sleep? Is it for nutrition? Is it for energy? Is it for new consultants? Is it for business builders, team builders, leaders, leadership development? All of that changes the message a little bit. But let's take the time, ladies and gentlemen, to identify that funnel exists, recognize each part of the process, and build in strategy in our activities so that each stage is represented. I just got a message. Please post this for those of us that are new and the tenured ones to understand as well. Okay, I will post this. If you want to get a copy of that image, I will post it on Facebook, on my Facebook feed after this call, so that you can have a look there and grab it. And by all means, then you can disseminate it and share it and use it as you wish. Okay. So thank you all very much for being here. I hope this has been helpful. If you want any assistance in walking through that funneling process for your business, reach out and let me know. It's a fun exercise. I love this exercise because it makes me feel more in control of my business. If I'm not doing this, if I've only got one thing that I show here or one thing that I do there, if it's a scattergun approach, it just makes me feel nervous, and it makes me feel vulnerable, and it makes me feel anxious that I'm not going to be getting my results the way I would like. Whereas with this, it takes a bit more time, a bit more effort, but it's deliberate, it's strategic, it's specific, and it's targeted. And in the world that we live now, with the customers being as informed as they are, consumers being opinionated as they are, we need to be a little smarter. And I think this really helps us to be just that. So thank you all very much. Glad you've been with us. And I look forward to being with you again real soon. Take care.